are live. Okay, so it says you are live.
We are live.
Let's have a look. See if we are live. Are we live?
We're live.
Sure we are.
We're live. Okay, we are live. All right. Okay. All right. So, hello. I see we have a couple of people coming in. We'll give it a minute to let some more people come on in. What an exciting day it is today. All right. How are you both doing?
Doing great.
You're doing good?
Glad to get to talk to you again.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So, right, we'll kick off. Good morning, everybody. Really lovely to have your listening ears and eyes. We are here with what side are we on? Here we go. Two wonderful, familiar faces, I'm sure, on the channel and just kind of in the community. We have Stephanie Perry and Roshida Dowe.
Yeah.
And I have to confess something, Roshida. There's a way that I say your name. It's Roshida Dowe. So that's how I refer to you. It's Roshida Dowe.
Roshida Dowe. I like it. Yeah. Keep going.
All right. So really lovely to have you all here. Hello, everybody coming into the chat. Hi, friends. How are we all doing? Say hello as you come on in. Really good to see everybody. And okay, so Stephanie and Roshida, exciting time of year for both of you.
Yeah.
So let's start off with some introductions. Who wants to go first?
I'll go. I'm Stephanie Perry. Hello, friends. I am from exotic Dover, Delaware. If you're from the UK, that's like being from exotic Croydon. But I've been traveling full time since 2015, since September 2015. And lately, my favorite home base has been San Jose, Costa Rica. I have gone from a person who didn't think that this kind of life was even possible to actually living this life of full-time travel, this life of being abroad, this life of having friends all over the world. And it's been an amazing shift, amazing change in my life. And so I'm glad to be here and glad to be a person who's helping other people do that as well.
Yes. And very much, a big name, the name in the community, one of our, Exodus leaders. Yeah. And we have the other Exodus leader. I keep going that way, it's this way. Would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Roshida Dowe. I have lived in Mexico for the past 5 years-ish. Can you hear me?
No, something happened.
Okay. It was doing a strange thing.
Okay, I think I know what that is. I can fix that. Okay. All right, hear me now?
Yeah.
I think so.
My super expensive mic has abandoned me. That's what that was.
Oh.
All right, but we're back. Whatever happens. There's also an earthquake very loudly outside my door. Lives, and we move on.
Absolutely.
I have been living in Mexico for 5 years. I am one of the co-founders of Exodus Summit. I help Black women leave situations that don't serve them to go find their joy wherever it may be around the world. And I love what I do. And I love that I get to be in community of so many wonderful people like you, Zolani. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Welcome. So wonderful to have you bless my little channel, my little corner of the internet.
Here.
And I shall introduce myself. My name is Zolani Anahisi. Couldn't say my name then. I am a licensed psychotherapist and a breakthrough life coach. I help Black women, among other people, but primarily Black women, to make major shifts and changes in their lives, to break free from the things that are holding them back, and to heal from trauma. And on the channel today, as I said, we have Stephanie and Roshida, the leaders of the Exodus Summit and the Exodus community, which is, a huge community that's doing massive things and making major changes in the lives of like so many Black women all over the world. And, I want to personally just kind of say thank you for the work that you do. You pour a lot into the community and a lot into the things that you offer the community. I know it's not a tick box exercise for the things that you do. You really do care, and people matter. The Black community matters to you. And that is really evident in the things that you do. So on behalf of the community, we thank you. Today,
can I say you're welcome, and thank you for being thank you for being so active in the community. Thank you for being a participant, a sister inside of the Exodus Summit community. We really appreciate you.
Yes. Aww. You're one of those people who, when your name comes up, it's always something good. Not everybody's like that. Not everybody's like that. But it's always something good. Always like someone found community in you when so.
Oh, good. It's a big change from perhaps my teenage years, but it's nice to know that I'm associated with good things. That's really nice to know. And thank you so much. All right, so let's say hello to some of the folks that are in here. We've got Shauna Marie. Good morning, or afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. We have Jennifer. Good morning. Marlene. Good morning. Carmen. Good morning. Aileen. Good morning. I've got Jennifer again. All right. So today, ladies, is a special day for me. It's not my birthday, but it's another anniversary. It is my 2-year Lockiversary today.
Congratulations. Okay. Question for you. When you phrasing this in the terms of like freedom, when you locked, what were you freeing yourself from?
Oh, see, that's a big question though. That's a big question because for those of you who haven't seen on my channel, I have a video which is about my journey with my hair and my journey with having 2 autoimmune diseases, and as a part of that, having alopecia that meant that I lost about almost 2/3 of my hair. And my journey personally was about clutching onto every hair that I had on my head and trying to cover up, what wasn't like deemed appropriate in my old eyes, until one day I said enough. And I said, I am accepting myself and what I have and what I don't have. And I shaved off the sides and decided to grow my locks. So actually what I let go of shame, I let go of guilt, I let go of not being enough. I let go. It was a huge thing. It was a huge thing for me. So yeah, today's a big day.
It's a big day. That's a huge thing to celebrate. Congratulations.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. And I, on the topic of hair, we have both of you with natural hair. What's your hair journey been like for both of you? You always been natural, or?
I've been natural since 98. And I was never a person growing up who was good at doing their hair or like put effort into learning. And so my hair always looked a little raggedy when I tried to make it do things that it didn't naturally do. Right? And so when I first went natural, I big chopped back. I think it was 98, big chopped, cut it all off.
Wow.
And then I just had like a really short cut for years. And then I grew out in like a bigger afro. And I was still at some point trying to get it to do things it didn't really want to do. But letting it be in its natural state, reduced a level of effort. Stephanie always says that she doesn't like to do a lot. And that is, I think, how we became soul sisters, because why am I fighting to make my hair do something you don't want to do? Right? Like, I have very thick hair. I have very, very, very curly hair. It's going like, yes, I want it to be long, loose curls, but that's just not what life has in store for me. So I had to accept that. And I think back in 98, I was like, I'm tired of the effort that's coming along with it. And so what will this look like? By the way, I will tell you that based on your audience, you probably have quite a few people from the islands. My mom is Jamaican. When I first cut my hair, her immediate response upon seeing it was, "You're never going to get a job."
Oh,
which back then, like based on her experiences looking for work, like being a Black woman in California, being a Black woman who didn't have who wasn't trying to have the hair people thought we should have, right? Like the straight, the long, whatever, was challenging. There were jobs that she didn't get because she had braids, right? Like, wow. And so I understood her point. It was not necessarily a productive comment because my hair is already cut. So girl, what are we doing? Right? Like, okay. And then I want to say like 20 years later, she cut all hers off and had it like mine. And now she's growing her own locks. And as a Jamaican, you know, that's an old school, like a old school Jamaican, that's a huge.
It is.
Huge.
It is.
So like, you know, life is a circle. We all get to where we're going at our own time. But I won't forget her to be like aghast at the haircut and be like, no one will ever employ you. And you know, not too long, I mean, 2 decades later, same hair, looking at me with the same haircut. Okay, girl.
Yeah.
Here you go.
It's so true. It's so true. You know, that kind of idea of no one's going to employ you if you got like thick Afro hair or locks or any kind of, you know, natural Black hairstyle. And my family's Jamaican as well. And for me professionally, making the shift to having this haircut was like, I had that thought. Who is going to employ me? But what it sparked in me was that, well, then I don't get employed anymore. Right? That was the solution for me. We no longer are in a space in our lives where we're looking for employment. And that was, I then stepped into my commitment to myself, which was I now work for myself and I am no longer an employee. I have retired myself from being an employee to anybody. Yeah. And Stephanie, what about yourself? Have you always been natural?
No, this last time I went natural in 2009, just because I got a bad haircut. And then I thought I would go into the hair store and buy a ponytail to cover it. And all the hair was so silky, right? I went in there and I was like, why does none of the hair look like my hair? Why am I being told that I'm supposed to want this kind of hair only? And it just sent me spiraling. My brother was like, go get a half wig, right? So I go to the store to try to get a half wig. and all the hair was like saying to me, your hair, oh my gosh, who would want your hair? This is before the Heidi Klum.
Like kinky, curly, yeah.
And the woman was like, who would want that hair, right? So I was like, oh, forget it. Then I will never straighten my hair again, right? If they're telling me that my hair is only looks good straight and only silky straight, because even with a relaxer, my hair was never silky straight. It looked good.
Right.
People would compliment me, but it was never that hair. I never looked Malaysian. You know what I'm saying? And why is this the only hair in the store? In a Black neighborhood, the Blackest neighborhood I've ever lived in. And every single wig, every half wig, every ponytail, every track was so silky. And all these Black women, we're all in the store looking, hunting. And I'm like, no, I'm not playing this game anymore. I'm over it. I'm over it. That was the end. So what could have been a temporary, like, you know, let's try it for a little while was like, no, I'm never doing that again. You will never see my hair silky, attempting to be silky straight ever again. Yeah. My hair looks like cotton. My hair looks like whatever. That's what it's going to look like. And I'm going to make sure that I see it as beautiful. If nobody else sees it as beautiful, the least I could do is make sure that I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that step is a big step, you know, and it we're talking on the subject of hair now, but actually it translates to pretty much every facet of life, there comes a point where you have to have that conversation with yourself. Am I going to keep trying to go with the silky, straight Malaysian hair, you know, or Asian hair, or am I going to embrace what it is that's here and who I am really, you know, and that's a big question to ask yourself, particularly when you might be among the first or one of the first in your circle to kind of take that step. You know, if you're one of the trailblazers among your people, that can be tough. That can be a tough step to take. I also want to add in there, just as a note to the community, that and I think I can speak on your behalf potentially, that when by no means saying that any particular hair type or way of having your hair is better than any other, but it's about who are you and who is your hair, what is your hair to you, and how can you stand in yourself. And speaking of which, you know, you two are really, really powerful women. And I say powerful not in the colonial sense of the word. I say that in terms of you seem to have, you know, a very strong sense of self, and a very commanding, you know, when you do the things that you do. Take me back. Take me way, way, way back, before all of the Exodus Summit stuff, before the community, before the traveling. Were you always people that were, you know, very solid and strong in who you were? Was that something, or was that something that you kind of developed over time? Let's go to who wants to speak first?
I think I presented as a solid, and I presented as that. I've always been a person who could like speak in public, and I've always been a person who could, you know, so I think I always looked like I was solid in who I was. And I think at times I did think I knew myself, and I did think that I was, you know, like the inside and the outside matched. But there came a time when that was no longer the case. There came a time when I was pretending to have it together, or pretending to feel like I had it together. Who has it together, right? But I was pretending to feel like I had it together, and I was pretending to feel like aligned, pretending to feel like I was on a track, on a path that I chose and that I enjoyed for myself, when I absolutely wasn't. I think I was there, and then it diverged, and there was a split, and then I was able to come back together. I think from the outside, it probably looks like I've always been that. If you talk to, you know, family members and friends, it probably looks like I've always been this, but absolutely not. There was a long time when I was sinking and drowning, but I knew how, because I, you know, spent so many years being a person who was like, I got it together, or looking like that. I knew how to pretend. I knew how to keep looking like that, even if that's not what was happening on the inside.
Yeah. Yeah. And that, I mean, that way of being is just so present for Black women. It's kind of, you know, we're trained in it, in our upbringing, that kind of, no matter what, make it look good. You know, that nobody has to know that you're struggling. Just, and that's a really challenging thing, particularly when you're younger, you know, or in your kind of early adulthood, because everybody might be doing it around you, but because it's not spoken about, you don't know that everybody's doing the same thing. They're all kind of, everyone's sort of pretending and doesn't really know what they're doing, but looking like they do. So you kind of think, is it just me that doesn't know?
Something's wrong with me. Yeah, something's wrong with me. Yeah, that's one of the wonders of the internet, right? One of the wonders of people being able to talk on the internet is that you can realize, oh, I'm not alone, right? So-and-so said she's struggling with this. Oh, me too. So-and-so said she's struggling with that. I've seen some people who I admired and looked up to and considered mentors online. But I always thought, well, you know, she's Little Miss Perfect. And then I hear her say she's struggling with this, or she's got this problem or whatever. And I'm like, oh, she's a real person too. I'm not the only person who goes through this. And it really, there is some joy in realizing that you're not on your own, right? That you're not alone in this struggle, whatever your struggle is. It's not just you. It's not just you. And that can really set you free, because you talked earlier about the shame and the guilt and right. All of that comes from sometimes from thinking that you're the only person dealing with this thing. And once you find community with other people who are dealing with this thing, you feel set free.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what about you, Roshida? Are you someone who's always kind of had that strength, or were you kind of walking in that same energy at some point as well of, I'm just kind of pretending a bit?
I was always someone who could figure it out. Like that's what I can do. I can figure it out if I want to. I don't always want to, but I can always figure it out, which means I can always get to the goal. I was always going to get to the goal. What it cost me to get to the goal, right? Internally, in community, whatever that was, it cost what it cost, but I could get to the goal. And that is, I think, something that you don't necessarily see how it's hurting you. Like if you're goal focused, you're not necessarily seeing the things you're passing by, the things, whether this goal is something you still want, right? Like if you're focused on if you've been trained to get to the goal, sometimes you don't really pay attention to whether this goal is something you want or not. It's just, this is the thing I said I was going to do, so I'm going to do it. And that does look away from the outside, and it definitely feels a different way on the inside. And so, I think it looks like strength. But as you know, sometimes strength is walking away, right? Strength can be choosing the easier thing, or letting goals go. And that's something that I've had to come into more recently.
Yeah. I think that's a really important point that, sometimes we create goals for ourselves and we're working towards that goal for so long that we evolve and we change and we develop and we grow, but we didn't update the goal.
Nope.
And so we're still kind of working towards this goal that was set by an older version of ourselves. And we don't even realize that actually there's a disconnect there. There's a complete misalignment,
Or your goal snowballs into a bigger, like the next goal, the next goal, the next goal, the next goal. And now you're down a path that, like, if you had to stop and say, is this something I want? The answer would probably be no. But but you're here. So now what, right? Like, now what do you do? So
Exactly. So Jennifer says similar, goal focus, but didn't focus on myself. Learning. Exactly. Because we're told, right? We're told, keep your eye on the prize. Like I heard that so much. Keep your eye on the prize.
What is the prize? What is the prize though? What is the
And whose prize? Whose prize?
Do I really want it? Like, do I get to choose the prize?
Exactly. Yeah. Constant goal setting. Yeah. I think there is a danger of that, of just kind of constantly working towards something, constantly being like, there's the goal. Okay, I'm going to get that thing. There's the goal. I'm going to get that thing. There's the goal. And then what are you getting?
Easy to get in that without realizing it. Like a lot of us at work, it's like, okay, well, I got the job, but now there's the bonus. And then after the bonus, there's the promotion. And then after the promotion, I got to get the really good review so that I can be considered for the next promotion and the bigger bonus. But do you even like that job? Like, do you like the people you work for? Do you like the company? Like it's and not just about work, but in a lot of ways. I'm in this relationship. The next step is X, then the next step is Y, then the next step. Do you want to spend the rest of your life with this person? Or do you feel like you should, because that's what you've been told by society you should do your whole life, right? Like, it's really easy to get caught in these things. I was going to use the word traps, but they're not traps. They're just choices, right? They're just choices we make. and that we're conditioned to make, right? We're always conditioned to go after the next, without stopping to think about whether we actually want it or whether it's just a never-ending cycle.
Mm-hmm. Thriving on enough. Hello. It says freedom is the prize now. And I love that. I love that. Freedom is a personal word for me that means a lot. Freedom and liberation. And I I'm putting my psychotherapy hat on now. I'm like, if freedom is the prize, is it a prize? If it's freedom, it's liberation, it's a bit. Let's not go there.
By the way, your psychotherapy hat has been on this entire time. Just FYI. Just FYI. Yes.
Well, all right. Okay. All right. So tell me about turning points. So there's been points in your life where you've been kind of, playing the game or playing someone else's game, working towards goals that weren't really yours, right, in the past. Yeah. What was the turning point? Where's the bridge from those versions of Stephanie and Roshida to now? What changed and what was the pivot?
I got to step out of my life in 2015. I was 41 years old and I got to just walk away, right? Walk away from everything. I took a year. I'd saved up some money, took a year and traveled for a year. Left work, left my family, left the house, right? Left the house. And here's the thing I've never said on my channel. I left stuff in my house, right? I didn't even have the wherewithal. I didn't have the energy, the emotional intelligence, the strength, whatever it would take to clear that house out. I left stuff in the house, right? I left for a year and traveled for a year and got to see a different version, like see what some possibilities were. And I got to see what parts of my life I didn't want to keep, right? Being able to walk away from my life showed me that there were a lot of parts of my life that I didn't choose. Or I guess I did choose them, but I didn't know I had other choices, right? And I didn't want to keep them anymore. So that was a turning point. And like really a turning point where there was no turning back. I could not go back. I couldn't go back to being the same person. I could go back to that location. I've been back to Delaware. I've even been back to the hospital pharmacy that I worked in, but I was not the same person. So taking that year and being able to take a full sabbatical, like it was a real sabbatical from everything. Being able to take that really changed the whole future, the whole rest of my life. A turning point is like an understatement for what that was. It was a real transformation. And it just happened. It happened by accident because I didn't take the sabbatical to have a transformation. I took the sabbatical to travel to some pretty places that were the screensavers on my laptop, right? I had a computer. I had some screensaver photos that would circle through, and I wanted to go see those places. And so I took a year to travel to see those places while I was still in, sound mind and sound body. And that really changed everything in my life. It changed who I was and who I can be. It was the best decision I've ever made, best thing I've ever done for myself.
I love that. Giving yourself that opportunity to do different, like just saying no more. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm getting off the track or the wheel or whatever it is that you're on and just doing a different thing. Is a powerful move, and it's one of those things, as you said, that can often open a door to a whole nother world that you just didn't even know existed, quite literally. Like a little portal. Yeah, like a little portal. Absolutely. I remember I used to be a jewelry designer, and I was working for this company, and they were awful. They were awful in Baker Street. I should say their name because they were awful. But it was these two brothers, right, that ran the company, and they used to, like, on a regular basis, bring everyone in. It was a small company. Bring everyone into their office and say, right, sit down. And one of them did this thing where he used to spin his computer around, his laptop, and he used to be like, look how much money you've made us. And there was never any, there's a bonus for you in there. Here's some incentive, here's something. It was like, look at your hard work and all your sweat and tears, and this is what we get. And we had to sit there and literally we all had to kind of be like, well done to them when we're doing the work, right? Well done. And I remember having a moment when I was like, F this. like F it. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not choosing to applaud somebody else for the things that I'm doing,
Right.
you know, that's lining their pockets.
Mhm.
I'm you know, walking away, and it, you know, those pivot moments can be powerful, you know, in the moment. I stood for myself that day when I walked out. I mean, my knees were shaking when I left.
Of course.
But I left. Yeah. And what about you, Roshida?
So I would say the exact same story. I would tell you the exact same story Stephanie told you, except I want to go one step backwards, which is therapy. Most of my career, as a lawyer, I surrounded myself with other Black lawyers, and I talked to them about my experience. And if they weren't other Black lawyers or other Black women in the companies I worked at, and we talked about the experience and how I went to a lunch once in Ohio with a bunch of other Black lawyers, and like we're all talking about our experience, and one of them looked at me and was like, "Oh, you have it worse out of all of us." And I was like, "Okay, but like I'm in tears. Like, how does this?" Not that it wasn't helpful, because I really thought my experience was more universal, but it was also like, okay, but now what, right? Like, and right, and there was no exit, right? And my last year of work, I started going 2018, right? 2017, before I took my break in 2018, I started going to therapy again, and I had an Eastern European female therapist. She was an interesting woman. There were lots of times where I was like, I feel like as a therapist, that wasn't what you were supposed to say. But one of the things she said was, when I told her about my work experience, she was like, "Oh, they sound terrible." And I was like, that was one of the times where I was like, that didn't sound as neutral as I was expecting, but okay, girl, you're not wrong. Right? And then she said the thing to me that changed my life, which was, what's the least amount of work you can do right now and continue to get paid? And I had surrounded myself with people, with Black women. And I was one of those people who firmly believe this too. So this is not a criticism of them. But we've been taught so long to work harder. If it's not working out for you, you just need to put in more work. You need to double down. You need to cancel your vacation and do harder and this and that and get another degree and invest more and do all these things. She was like, what if you just collected a check? And she really made me, even though it was challenging, she suggested and followed up with me about like doing less. And then when I got to the point of like, oh yes, doing less, for people who don't appreciate, if you're working a terrible job, doing the least feels a lot better than doing the most. I'm gonna tell you right now. Now, knowing that, if I have to choose, if it's a terrible job that I'm not getting appreciated for, I'm not getting paid what I should for, all of those things, and there's no future here for me, let's shift that gear all the way to the least. And when I talked about the fact that like the job was ending and I thought I wanted to take a break, she was like, I think that's an excellent idea. I then hesitated. I do what a lot of people did. And I was like, okay, what about if I find another job and work because it was like 30 days. I was like, I think I want to leave here. But like the leave here date would have been like in 30 days because my lease was up. And she was like, you're bullshitting. In whatever term Eastern European woman would use, she was like, if you don't go now, you're not going to go. So you can tell yourself job just for a year. But if you invest more, you're not leaving. And I was like, also factually correct, but I don't really like the way you said it. Right? Like, you don't have to read me down like that. But that I don't remember her name. I could not tell you that lady's name, but that therapist changed my life. Between telling me, like, giving me permission in a way that no one in my life has ever given me permission to not be better, right? Be a better employee than anyone deserved, right? And between saying like, you're bullshitting. You're bullshitting yourself about actually leaving, and that is going to prevent you from going long term. Hearing that changed my life. And then I went on a career break for a year and did the things that Stephanie did and was unable to come back. But yeah, I had to get to that therapy first before I could have gone on that break.
Mm-hmm. It's really difficult sometimes to give yourself permission to do things. Mm-hmm. You know, that because there's so much guilt, and as we were talking about, guilt and shame and all of that stuff, and generally little Black girls are trained to be good little Black girls. Mm-hmm. And to comply and to, you know, be the ones that get the thing done and achieve the goals. And when we kind of even think about sort of stepping off the track, it can be, you know, hard, and we can almost squash our own dreams before they even kind of develop into anything and not do the thing, you know. What do you think for you, Stephanie, was that thing that gave you permission, or were you able to give yourself permission to pivot and shift?
I think normally I would say I just gave myself permission, but I think the real root of it is that I just always had somebody who thought, oh yeah, you can do that. You can do whatever. And so that's a thing that I thought that I could be a person who could do something really against the grain and it would still work out. But yeah, there's some of it is just, you know, like, you know, we have different experiences and personality types and whatever. Some of it is just who I was already, but also some of it was that I felt like I was living the worst case scenario. Right. And I felt like I wasn't the worst case scenario type of chick. I was meant to have a really amazing life, but I somehow ended up on this wrong timeline where I was living this, you know, that the life that I didn't want to live that anymore. And so I guess, and so some of it is I felt like there was not much to lose. I didn't have very much to lose. And so that was why I felt okay with, you know, throwing some things away and starting over. But I also I've had an amazing support network, and I've had an amazing example after example of an experience after experience of somebody, even if it's not everybody, of somebody being like, oh, you can do it. Let me help you. Let me support you. Let me see what I can do to, you know, make this possible for you. So it's a lot of things go into it, but I think the community and the being able to put things into a big picture perspective were probably the reasons why I was able to do something that was really against the grain. Because I really did feel like it was the worst case. What could be worse? The worst thing that can happen if I quit my job and I travel for a year on my savings, the worst thing that can happen is I have to come back to my job. I was living the worst case scenario. So now let's see what's good. What's good? What's good out here? What else is out here?
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? So many people are maybe not at rock bottom, but close to somewhere near the bottom and not really living like any kind of joy. It's like they're just going through the motions of the day and don't realize that they're in that place.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, they just don't realize that they're there. And I'm so glad that for you, Roshida, therapy was the thing that shifted that. Obviously, I'm a therapist, and I think that everybody in the planet should be in therapy in some capacity because everybody needs someone to talk to. But having a good therapist that can really help you, because she didn't give you permission, she helped you to give yourself permission to make those changes and do the things, you know, is really important. And now I understand that not everybody's in a place or position or has the inclination to be in therapy. You should, but they might not. And Stephanie, you had your network and community around you that were really kind of, you know, supporting you and encouraging you, which leads me on to what do you think, or how do you think the people that they're not in therapy and they don't have a solid network, How can they make those shifts?
So I think the first step is realizing that you want to make a shift, right? And that is hard to do. Like when I was in the position I was in, what was the shift? What do you mean? Like, I have a job. This apartment is $2,000 something a month. Like, what do you like? What is a shift, right? And I think it requires a little bit of realizing what else is available in this world, even if you don't think it's possible for you. And sometimes you said this is someone who doesn't have community, but sometimes that happens from being in community, right? Sometimes it happens from being in community with people who haven't necessarily are thinking things that you haven't thought yet. And not that doesn't mean they're ahead of you or they're better than you or anything. It just means they got to a place sooner than you did. Maybe they started on their quest earlier than you did, right? Yeah. If you don't, to your point earlier, if you don't, I didn't know I was at rock bottom. I was at rock bottom. And I didn't know it because I had checked all the boxes.
Yeah.
So how could it be rock bottom? I've checked all the boxes. How could this be rock bottom? All I need is a spouse. And then I'm done. I have won the game. Period. Ta-da. Right? I'm incredibly unhappy.
Yes.
But I'm ticking boxes. So, right? And I think that until you realize that you can check all the boxes and that does not matter, right? It's really hard to recognize that you are at rock bottom. But that realization, which might come through therapy, right, is sometimes what you really need before you can make the change. Because otherwise, what are you changing? And why would you change it if you don't realize there's a problem?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it can be so easy to, again, be focused on the prize. I'm checking all of these boxes. I have this thing and then this thing and this thing, and I'm doing the thing. And people around me are saying that my life is great, right? The feedback says my life is wonderful. Why am I so unhappy? And it, you know, it doesn't compute. And then again, you start to think, then it must be something wrong with me. If I'm not happy when I'm doing the thing that should be making me happy, then now I must have something broken or short-circuited somewhere in my system, you know.
And the question, you know, you get is, well, what about grandkids? What about, you know what I mean? Like not when are you going to give me some grandkids? Not when are you going to leave this job that I can see is physically killing you, right? Because the job can kill you as long as you check the next box, right? Like that's fine. You check that box, check the next one, as opposed to like really stepping in and taking. We're never really encouraged to take a good assessment of our lives and the things that make us happy and the things that make us unhappy. And I think it's because society as a whole knows a lot of the things they've told us to do will make us unhappy. There are a lot of unhappy people out there who on paper, everything looks great. Everything looks great on paper. But until you really take stock of where you are, which sometimes can't, like to Stephanie's point earlier, it was when she went abroad where she was like, oh, other options.
Yes.
No one told me about these other options when I was, right? Like sometimes that's what it is, like stepping out of your life and stepping into the world that you haven't seen before allows you to see some other options that otherwise you didn't know were available to you.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And to that point, for the women out there who are kind of thinking that, you know, is this me? Am I one of them people that kind of is ticking the boxes and I'm not thinking that I'm quite happy? Do I need to make some changes? I have a resource called the Black Women's Contentment Scale. And what it is, it's a little worksheet, kind of like a semi self-assessment where you answer some questions and it will tell you where you are in terms of contentment, thriving, or, you know, some other bits that might need some work. So I'll drop that in the chat. Did that?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, yeah. So yes, you can download the Black Women's Contentment Scale and do that assessment. And you know, for some people, it's a little bit of an eye opener because they tell themselves that they're happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm happy. Through gritted teeth.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they're looking at their life through somebody else's eyes, right? We don't get a chance to sit back and look at our life from inside of ourselves, right? We look at it from the outside. Yeah. I'm happy. I have what I need. Let Zolani tear down that veil, okay?
Yes, please. But you know, this is the thing, right? So one of the wonderful things about finding community, and we'll talk about community in a sec, right, is that you can get close to people and learn some of the lessons that other people have learned. So you don't have to go through it experientially yourself, right? You can see other people like, oh, that's how she got from there to there. Let me skip 3 steps ahead and, you know, apply the formula and see where that takes me. And community is so necessary.
Listen, nobody is living their lives like a 65-year-old divorcee. Black 65-year-old women who are divorced, they are living their lives. They feel good, they look good, they live good. And so I've been looking at them, so what she got to teach me? And what do I need? I can skip the marriage and the divorce or the marriage and the widowhood, right? Skip all that. What shortcuts does she know? Because I want to get where she is. Those women are out there living their lives and feeling good about themselves.
But I think some of that comes from being on the other side, right? Like they were at a place where they were like, this is not the best life. Right. And now they're like, we don't want to live that. Like they know I was there. Let's do something else, right? And so when you know what made you unhappy, when you can recognize that you were unhappy in a place, it's much easier to find happiness, right? It's when you don't know that you're unhappy that you're not really like searching for the thing that will make you happy.
Yeah,
yes.
Absolutely. And, you know, there are so many Black women who aren't living in community, right? They're trying to work all of this stuff out in isolation and without support, because again, very often we are raised in a way where you're successful if you can stand on your own, right? As a Black woman, if you can do this thing without support, without complaint, then you're successful, right? So we get stuck in trying to do that, and we don't realize that if we had people around us and we say, oh, you're doing that, you're struggling too, and you're struggling too, and
if you can do that, if you can do it without complaint, and if you can carry 3 other people on your back while you're doing it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Tanya, accents in me don't really gel well. I hope I pronounced your name right. This is such a powerful discussion. You can't seek help or make changes, etc., until you see and recognize or realize your need. Finding community helps to bridge that gap. Yeah, it really does. It really, really does. And I was somebody who was a vehement lone wolf. And I thought the more of a lone wolf I was, the stronger, the better, the more I was thriving, the more successful I was at this life thing. Until I started to get people around me, and I was like, oh, but this feels good.
Yeah.
Oh.
Were you a lone wolf after you were a mother or before, or both times?
I was a lone wolf before motherhood.
After motherhood, were you less of a lone wolf?
Oh, try being a single mom and doing the lone wolf thing.
That's right.
Right, community.
Let's ask about this, because it feels like those two don't really go along.
No.
Okay.
You can. So I grew up with a mum who was a single mum and a young mum. So my mum had 2 kids by the time she was 18. And she did her best. You know, she did her thing. But she struggled. She really, really struggled, and, you know, really grew up in a time much more than in my lifetime where you absolutely did not ask for help.
Yeah.
You know, asking for help was failure. That's it. You're one of life's failures if you ask for help. And so me going into single motherhood, and I'm a single mum by choice, right? But going into single motherhood was like, okay, well, how am I going to do this now? Because I know my struggles as an individual adult, and I can I could kind of navigate life. And as a vehement lone wolf, I did this thing. But then when you have another person outside of yourself, this little child, and I can't give you everything you need.
Yeah.
I absolutely can't give you everything you need. I want to, I wish I could, but I can't. And so the need for community became much stronger and stronger and stronger. And I recognize, and as she's gotten older, I see how much she thrives with people. She's a people's person. She is so extroverted and just open-hearted and just wants to. We can't walk down the street. She's 4, by the way, my daughter. We can't walk down the street without her, you know, engaging in some deep, meaningful conversation with some stranger.
In Spanish?
Spanish, English.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. She does the thing. So community now has a completely different meaning for me. You know, how do you both, because you spearhead, right, the Exodus Summit community.
Yeah.
Okay. Which is, for those of you who don't know, which is a wonderful community of Black women that support Black women unapologetically, with love and grace, and space and compassion. And we kind of have this shared goal of, let's get to our personal goal, right? The thing that makes us feel good. Where do you guys find community? Do you find community in that community, or who are the people kind of around you that offer you support?
Because you talked earlier about being the first one in your circle to do something. Because I was the first in my circle to take this look at my life and do something totally different, I didn't have community in this way until we created the Exodus Summit community. Right? Until I had Roshida. I made Roshida my friend. I made her my friend. And then we made other friends. We made other people become our friends inside of the Exodus Summit community. I didn't have this kind of community until we created it. I also I'm a loner, right? And I'm a people would never believe that, but I am a loner, and I can, spend. But the lone wolf is the vulnerable one. When food and resources are low, the lone wolf is the one who's going, their life is gone. You're gone.
Sorry, Stephanie, sorry. If we were in a dance right now, that would be like, rewind. Can you say that again, please? Please. For the people in the back who didn't hear, the lone wolf is the
most vulnerable. The lone wolf is the most vulnerable. You don't have the community. You don't have the other people help, or the other wolves helping you find food. I don't know what wolves need. I guess food and shelter and water, right? But if you can't do it on your own, you hurt your little paw, or something. Who gonna help you? You're on your own. Wolves may not have. I don't know that wolves have like other animals. I don't think anybody eats wolves, but wolves need to eat. And if something happens and you aren't able to find your own, you're gone. You're a goner. You're a goner. I accepted that. And made that lone wolf, canceled out that lone wolf part of me quite a while ago. Because I want to live. I want to live well. I want to live long. And I want to live in a different way. I want to live in Costa Rica, right? Lone wolf, I'm not going to make it if I'm a lone wolf, right? If I'm alone, I'm not going to survive. So we made the answer is we made it. I'm the community that I have, the community that supports me. Most of this is community that we created. Now, some of the people, yes, I was the first in my circle, and now some of the people, the women in my circle from before, are now in this new circle.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like you can just transform the old circle into the new circle. We had to make a new community. And some of those women are now part of this same community. But it doesn't help. It doesn't work that you like batter and bash people into agreeing with you and doing things your way. You got to find community in your new space. But some of them will come. Some of them will come along.
And that point is, can feel like a really vulnerable point when you're kind of used to doing things on your own, and then to try to pivot and take the leap to connecting with people and sharing yourself with people and being in community with people, it can be a really scary leap to take, because on your own, although you're there is vulnerability there, but you call the shots, you make the rules. And, I think a lot of Black women feel as though being on their own is the powerful state, right? When actually being in community can offer you something wonderful and nurturing you and feeding yourself and nourishing yourself in ways that you actually just can't do by yourself, unfortunately, is the truth of it. I learned that, and I was angry at that lesson. I'm not gonna lie. I was angry at that lesson when I realized that, I can't do it all myself. I can't, like, so what have I been working towards?
Right.
What is all this been for? And then I had to really submit to my need for people and need to be in community and connected with people, and allow myself to be nourished by the people around me. Because, for a lot of Black women, being in community the idea of being in community is a threatening thing, especially when you come from, hostile environments, that be that family, work, community, whatever it is. We can kind of build up that being on our own is the better sort of way to be, but in the Exodus Summit community, there are some wonderful Black women, and you guys are now, it's like collectively 220,000 women strong.
Who knows?
I think it's a bit more than that. It's like
it's hard. So one of the things we struggle with is that our community is almost completely online, right? And so there are people we've met, like, right? But it's sometimes we love you all like our own precious little babies, but also sometimes it's like you're not real, in the sense that, like, we know we have a community, we know people who comment, but like the people who watch and lurk in the background, if you've never commented in the group, if you've never commented on a video, I don't know you're there, right? Like, you're a number. And so it's weird having this community of people who are like super active and people who, like me, I'm a lurker online. So I'm in people's communities for 10 years who I've never, you know what I mean? Like, I've never communicated with. And I know those people are there too. So this isn't at all a knock on them, but it's also like the size of our community is hard to quantify because of that. Like, it's not like we're all like, and then today we're all going to go. Right, we're working from the office today. Everyone's returned there's no return to office day. There's no like, we're all in this one place, let's hold hands, which is why we do really encourage the in-person meetups wherever we can, right? Like the one in London, where you made some friends, right? And
I did.
You did. And they're here.
Yes, they are.
And so those opportunities to meet people in person, because as much as you can make friends with someone online, meeting them actually in person is the thing that makes the difference, right? It really does solidify the relationship when you get to meet in person. So our community is lovely. I always say, for me, it's like the most open-hearted place on the internet. The women are really nice. We really ensure that. Don't show up being mean, right? Because like nobody wants that.
Yes.
I do feel like the number is a real number. I don't really believe that when I look at a number in a bank account, I don't believe that's real money. Okay.
Okay.
But I do believe our number is a real number of people because we just pop up places and there they are. There's some people here, there's some people there.
Yeah.
Every now and then somebody will be like, oh, and by the way, here's my accountability group of 24 women, and we've been meeting and doing things together, right? So it does feel like a real number to me. It's a big number. And I don't know what 250,000 people looks like. I don't know. A stadium maybe. I don't know. But it does feel like a real number. And we have some people who are kind of proxies, right? Who represent a bigger group. We know, like you and your, I don't want to call them you have a squad, right? Your squad.
My squaddies.
My friend Katrina is here. And I told her, I got it 11 o'clock. I'm talking to
Katrina's there.
Right?
Can I just cut you in there? Because Katrina at one point had one foot in our squad, and she was we tried to keep her in.
Katrina got a foot everywhere. She got a foot everywhere.
She's got her foot everywhere. Absolutely. We used to meet with Katrina every week, right? And then but it's one of those things, like I forget who said it, but the idea of a butterfly is beautiful because it's free and it's flying around, right? And the instant that you try to catch that butterfly and keep it for yourself, then you lose the essence of what made it beautiful. And that's Katrina, I think. She's just like, I'm not doing my thing. You'll see me.
So to Stephanie's point before about real numbers, now money in the bank is a real number to me, right? Debt, that's a real number to me, child. But that comment you just had up from Kyoka, I think our squad might not be a real number to me because people tell me this all the time. I've been in the streets and I run into Exodus women. It has never happened to me. It has never randomly outside.
No,
like if I'm going to an Exodus meetup or like I'm going to a place where I know they're going to be. Yes, it happens. But like randomly in the streets, no.
Really? I'm really surprised at that.
There's never like once I was in Puerto Vallarta and I said I'm going to this restaurant and an Exodus woman came because she heard I was going to the restaurant. Like she came to meet me at the restaurant. But never like I'm in an airport and I meet someone. If I say guaranteed, if I say something about Exodus Summit to a strange Black woman, they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Wow.
I don't know what it is. I'm always approaching the women who are like, I don't know you, stranger, please. And that's why I feel like for me, it's a different experience. Like it's a number, but I don't know. Is it real? I don't know. There's a man who I think is white in my DM, and he said he was talking to an Uber driver every day, and he was like, he mentioned my name, and she said, oh, I watch her videos. That does not happen to me.
Oh, wow.
It doesn't.
It's funny. Everyone else but you.
Everyone else but me. So if you see me in the streets, please say hi because you'll be the first one. No one has ever been like, never.
But you know what? It could be that thing that it can be difficult to know because we see you online, right? And that's why I wanted to have this conversation with you guys about, who you are behind the success, because we see you guys online and it's like you're the big names now. You've made it. You're there. And then we're so used to people getting to that kind of celebrity, if you like, level, and then becoming inaccessible. And it's like they're too far over there. And I really think it's important for people to know that not that you're accessible, but that you're still humans, that you're still people, and you're still living your lives, and you're still doing the thing, and the community is there, and it's active. It's not a passive thing at all. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I agree with that. We agree with that. Rashida wanted to do something the other day, and I was like, girl, people hear from us all the time. It's not like we're recluses. We're not like some mysterious people. People talk to us and feel like they have intimate conversations with us
Mhm.
together and
Mhm.
individually all the time. We're not out separate from like our space. We're in the space. We may not be the center. Rashida says really nicely, we're not the center of the circle. We in the circle. Okay. We're part of the circle. So I don't know if I don't think we'll ever have to deal with people feeling like we're unapproachable or untouchable.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
girl, we're in their living rooms, in their bedrooms all the time. We be talking.
Yeah.
The way they show up to us online tells me they don't think we're unapproachable. And Stephanie is the much more famous person, and people approach her all the time. I know it's not that. I know it's not that.
I think it's maybe because I'm taller. Could it be I'm just easier to see?
I don't. Listen, no, I don't.
Now, I feel like I have to address this, right? I'm a tall person. I'm 5'11" and a bit, and Rashida's really not. You're not. You're really.
What are we addressing at this point?
You're not easy to spot. You're not easy to spot, Roshida. And I was surprised by this because do you know what it is? You know your energy. Your energy is big.
I have a big personality.
Yeah, you have big personality and you have big energy. Yes. And not the kind of energy that sort of tramples over people and knocks them down, but just this kind of it's big. And then when I met you, I was like, oh, hi. But you were lovely. You were both lovely. You were really, really lovely in person.
And for adding that on, appreciate it.
Did you like that? Did you?
You're not tall, but you're not in my tall girl club, but you're lovely.
Still lovely. But do you know what? When I met you guys in London, that we were speaking before about pivotal moments, but actually that London meetup was a pivotal point for me in my move abroad. I'd lived abroad before previously. I'd lived on a really small island in the South Atlantic, and then I'd moved back to London with my daughter, and I wanted to move abroad again. And I was one of the lurkers in the Exodus community. I used to just like lurk in the background and just absorb information. And but then there came this point when I was like, I think I need to be among people physically who are doing the thing that I'm trying to do. You know, because online is lovely, but are you real? Are you? And making that decision to go to that meetup was huge for me because I was used to being the person that did the weird stuff. You know, the person that it was like, Zolani, she's gonna go around the world. She's gonna do some run. She's that person. But it meant that I couldn't share in the excitement, the planning, the joy, the fears and all of that stuff with people who were doing the same thing. And when I went to that London meetup, I was like, you're all weird like me. You're all doing the travel thing, and you see the value in it, and you get it, and you understand it. And it was powerful for me. It was really powerful for me, and it solidified something, I think, in my brain about what it was that I was kind of up to in my life. So those meetups are really important, and I do encourage people to get out there to the meetups. I know that you're not kind of doing them in the same way or same frequency so much now.
We're really encouraging people in their own towns to create their own meetups, right? You don't need to wait for us. You don't even care if we're there or not, right? Like, we know you guys will show up if we're there, but we also know you'll show up if we're not there. So you don't have to wait for us to come to Merida or anywhere else to have a meetup. Wherever you are, there's probably an Exodus Summit woman there. Get in the group, say, I'm going to dinner at this place at this time. If any Exodus sisters want to join me, you know, here's where I'll be. And now you have a meetup, right? The meetups that we were doing, we felt like they were too much energy that we didn't need. We want to do a little bit. There were too much energy that weren't what we needed. So we've always done like ticketed events. You come, you buy a ticket, we plan these things. But what we started doing the past few years is allowing space inside of that for the women to plan their own thing. So like if it's a 5-day event, we have 2 or 3 days planned, and the rest of the time is you planning your own thing. And the things the women planned were so amazing. Like I went to a jewelry making event in South Africa.
Casually, just South
Casually,
Africa.
casually in Cape Town, I went to a jewelry making event.
Lovely.
And the maker of the woman who hosted it is actually now a part of Exodus Summit. She's in the group with us now. We just collect people along the way. But yeah, that's not something I would have ever considered. I would not have looked up a jewelry making event in South Africa, but Mary, who lives in Panama, looked it up and said, who wants to come? Right. I think it was Mary who planned that. And also Mary who planned a dinner for like 100 people. Listen, I'm not even sure I want to be at a dinner for 100 people, to be perfectly honest. I went, it was fun. But like planning a dinner for 100 people, ew, right? But like, and you know, we do it. We do the like events and the stuff, whatever. But it was really nice to have, like, see what the woman created and realize what we said going forward is if we pick a place and just tell them we're going to be here at this time, like Stephanie is going to a country in Southeast Asia in February. And
Say her name.
She has told people where she's going and has said, if you want to meet me there, I'll be there. Now, Stephanie's not going to plan nothing. I already know this. Stephanie's going to say, I'm here. What are we doing? And she's not even going to show up to all the events either. She might show up to 1 or 2, just telling y'all in advance. Y'all going to plan stuff and be like, where's Stephanie? Stephanie's in bed.
In the bed.
In the bed, I'm telling you.
Yeah. In Vietnam. Say her name, Roshida. Her name is Vietnam.
I don't know her. Sorry.
Stephanie, I know that you love Vietnam, and Roshida has a very different relationship with Vietnam, it would seem.
I see. Okay, so last night I saw Ola Yinka say she's going to Vietnam. Now I see Carmen saying she's going to Vietnam. And I want you all to know it feels like you're stabbing me in the heart. Just casually. Thanks, sis.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. It's really nice.
Thank you.
Yeah. Nice. I've not been to Vietnam. I've not been there. But I would love to go.
I hope y'all come. Yes. Bring Zolani Jr. Y'all come. Okay.
Well, we're kind of at the stage now where we're thinking about where's the next place. You've got our base now, and it's like where's the destinations to go to. So me and my little one are looking at online things, and she has a thing that she's set on Thailand. I don't know why or where that came from. She's set on Thailand. I don't know, but yeah, Vietnam would be cool.
I don't know if you know this, but at the Exodus Summit 2024 coming up in October, a speaker is going to be talking about getting different visas to stay in different countries and citizenships and other things, different ways to stay in different countries long term. So if you're thinking about what country's next for you, that speaker, if I hear, is a very, very lovely person, even though they may not be at all. That speaker is going to give you some great information about countries where you can go long term, stay, etc., even if you don't have your heart set on something right now, like how to figure out and how to get there and stay.
That's right. Okay. We're super excited for Exodus Summit. We're super excited for the summit that's happening in just a few weeks, because some Black women are going to come to Exodus Summit 2024. Just like, I'd like to move abroad, or I'd like to go abroad for a significant amount of time, but I don't really know how that would work. I don't think it would work out, right? They're going to come like that, and they're going to leave Exodus Summit with a strategy, right? With the first steps, with the plan, with it being much more realistic and much more possible. So we're super excited.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk us through the summit 2024, because we're now at year 5. 5 years in. 5. I
don't understand it.
That's mega.
after the first one, I was like, okay, we're done. And Stephanie was like, please don't speak to me for a month. She went missing from the internet. Completely. It's all, the other thing about it is that we started our Facebook group during the first one as a part of the summit. It was like there were specific events happening during the summit.
Mhm.
We did not start it to be a standalone community or like a constantly running community. And at the end of a summit, I was like, okay, so when are we closing this group? And Stephanie was like, I don't know, should we leave it open? And then I think we said something in the group about closing it, and the ladies were like, we'll kill you.
We will find you. No.
I was like, oh. And so that's how the community started. It wasn't that because we had done it without community, I don't think we realized the importance or like the benefit, the benefit that you come, how much faster and further you can go when you have that community. And so we've been able to add something that we didn't have ourselves and something that is valuable on its own to every summit since then. And so it's been an amazing experience having the summit and the Facebook group. But the summit, so the Facebook group is great. It's where you meet your friends, hang out with the people, give them the updates. But the actual summit is where the action happens. And it's where our joy is each year, right? Like we are a little tired, a little battered and bruised right now from planning the summit, but I will tell you that on October 15th, I'm going to be the happiest I will be all year. I'll tell you in advance. Because it's been the same every year. When the minute we're done and we have done the thing, I'm on a high. Yes. Because so many women's lives will change in ways they didn't know were possible. So many people. So I think this is a hard thing to do. We've realized that it's hard to get people to come to the summit unless they're already invested in the idea. But there are going to be some people who come to the summit who aren't invested in the idea of moving abroad long-term or temporarily yet. And when they come, they're going to see the other options that we talked about earlier. They're going to see the gap between where they are and where they could be. And we're in a place where they didn't know they could be before. And that's going to change their life. And that makes me happy, right? Yeah. And so we're really trying to reach out to women who are like, I know there's more for my life. Because that's where Stephanie and I both were. We didn't know what we wanted, but we knew we wanted something different. Like, this can't be it. This is not it. And we ended up in very similar places by going through different experiences, but not everyone ends up in a similar place, right? Like not everyone's life story at the end of a break is going to look like Stephanie or mine, but it's probably going to give you a lot more clarity about what you want and how to get what you want than if you stay where you are and don't make any moves.
And I think that's really important. The one thing that not the one thing, but one of the major things that I love about the summit is that it's about action. So it's not one of those events that you go to, like my old bosses that are like, look how great my life is. Isn't it wonderful? I'm going to just talk about how I do these wonderful things, but I'm not going to tell you how you can get it for yourself. The summit is the exact opposite of that. It's about, here's the steps, here's the formula, this is what you need to do to get this result. If you want to live a life like this is what you need to do. Or, it's very much kind of tangible information that you can actually apply to your life to make those changes. And so it's a very real thing for people. And I think when you're kind of making big changes or thinking about making big changes in your life, actually just, having it within your grasp. Oh, that's what I do. Oh, okay. It makes it so much easier to be able to implement in your life. And I think the other thing also as well is that you mentioned, Roshida, that, not knowing what's possible, you kind of ask that, you ask yourself that question, like, is this it?
Mm-hmm.
Is this it? And then seeing somebody else who's done a big thing, moved abroad, sold their things, got rid of all of the dead weight, and is, you know, living free. Like, whoa, that's huge. It's massive. It makes me think of sorry, I like stories, right? So I'm a qualified free diver, which is like diving without equipment. And one of the things when I was doing my free dive training, it was so eye-opening, because prior to that, I had like held my breath for maybe like 40, 50 seconds and felt that was great. Then I did this dive training, and in the training, the guy talks about what happens in your body when you stop breathing, right? And I learned that actually when you stop breathing, your spleen starts pumping oxygen, your brain does this, your lungs start doing these things that make you able to hold your breath for longer. And you can actually hold your breath for up to 10 minutes if you know that you can.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you don't know that you can hold your breath for up to 10 minutes, you can only hold your breath for about up to a minute. But once I learned it was possible for me to hold my breath for up to 10 minutes, day 3 of that course, I held my breath for 3.5 minutes.
Wow. That's amazing.
And it was wild. And I was like, how did I do that? Because I had the thinking, it was here, something unlocked and opened in my brain, and it became possible for me. And that's what the summit does for Black women. You know, it shows them, you didn't think that this was for you, but look, it really is. And this is how you can do it. So kudos for creating such a wonderful door opener portal for Black women. If you are interested in going to the summit, and I think you should be, most definitely, you can get your tickets. I've posted in the chat how you can get your tickets, a link there. That's my affiliate link. And secure your spot in the summit, show up, access the community, be amongst the people, and get the talks. Do you want to just talk through some of the talks that are happening this year?
Yeah. This year, we are really focused on helping Black women and families move quickly, right? Now, quickly means it's going to mean different things to different people, right? For some people, that's going to mean I'm moving my 10-year plan down to a 3-year plan. And for some people, that's going to mean I'm moving in the next 2 months, right? Either way, what we want to do is we want to bring you talks. All of our talks are designed to help a woman move quickly, right? So like we have talks about helping you figure out the schooling situation for your child. That is going to help a mother move really quickly. With their family, they're gone. For someone without kids, that's not going to be so applicable, but maybe our talk about remote work or our talk about getting your employer to approve you working remotely will really help you move quickly. So it's one of those things where we always plan that there's each individual session can be like the magic thing. For one person, each session can make tremendous change for the right group of people. And so there's going to be one session for everyone. We know there's going to be at least one session that's going to make it worth the ticket price, right? At least once, every single session we create, we want to make sure it's worth the all access ticket price, right? Yeah. Every single session. And so when you go in there, it's going to be like making sure you're going to the sessions that apply to you, and even the ones that don't, because there's nuggets. Every session is going to have some nuggets for you where you're going to get turned on to something you might not think about otherwise. Why don't you talk about some more specifics, Steph?
Yeah, we're also talking about money. How do you know what it would cost you to live in another place, right? Because we don't know. We know what it costs to go on vacation someplace, and we're like, well, that was only a 2-week vacation. I can't imagine what a month or 3 months or 6 months would cost. So we're talking about really finding out the cost, how to calculate a number for yourself, how to calculate what it would cost for you to live in some certain places. We're talking about healthcare because in the United States, if you're from in the UK, you guys probably don't have this freak out. But people in the US really get panicked about, what am I going to do about healthcare? What do I do about healthcare?
Right.
Because we come from a place where our healthcare system is so terrible. We assume that it's also that difficult to navigate and that inaccessible and that expensive other places. So we're talking healthcare, how to get healthcare in another country, how to get health insurance, and also how to do like your healthcare pre-work before you leave the United States. We're talking a lot about healthcare this year because that's a thing that if people in the US are like, oh, I could never leave my job. I could never go to another country. What am I gonna do about healthcare? Girl, what you're gonna do is go to another country and be like, oh, this is nice. I can actually
doctors talk to me.
Yes.
I don't have to wait 6 months for an appointment. Ew.
Absolutely.
No
Absolutely.
referrals? You just make no referral system. You just go to the doctor you will need to go to. Oh, this is nice.
Yeah, and they're thorough as well. There's this myth, right, that where we come from, the doctors are the best. That's just we have the elite doctors here, whether it's the UK, America, wherever you're from. But actually, being in Mexico here, right, for me was such an eye-opener. Within the first 2 weeks we got here, what happened? My daughter, I had to take her to a medical appointment, for her eczema. That was it. And we just went into, they have like these, walk-in health centers, and you'd pay like, I think it's like 60 pesos or something, which is like a couple of dollars. And you're seen by a doctor. And this doctor was looking at her eczema and, recommended some cream. And he was just doing a regular check. And he was like, I think I can hear something on her heart. And I was like, well, that's strange because she's been to doctor after doctor for different things in the UK and no one's ever mentioned her heart. And, I was like, what on earth is going on here? This man who was checking for her eczema managed to pick up the slightest little shift in her heartbeat, right? Just on a regular day in a random checkup. And he referred us to hospital. Within a week, we were in a hospital working with a specialist. She had had all sorts of tests and scans with, and they brought in in the hospital, they brought in a female doctor so that she wouldn't feel, kind of intimidated or anything. And the doctor was, so lovely. And in the end, it was fine. But she does have this kind of irregular heartbeat that should sort itself out. But it took my daughter being 4 years old, 4 years of life, having been to multiple doctors before somebody randomly on a street in Mexico picked up that she had this altered heartbeat. And luckily it was nothing, but the quality of healthcare that you can get abroad is wonderful. It really is. And it's so accessible as well. And so I'm really glad that you're talking about healthcare in the summit this year. Yeah. Are there talks? So for the summit, I know that it's very much, you guys are from the States and there's a lot of Americans that kind of make this move abroad, but is it accessible for people who are outside of the UK, outside of the US, sorry?
It's funny. I was going to ask you specifically what you think UK people would want to see, but we're going to come back to that. I'm going to come back to that question.
Okay.
But, yes, most of our talks are about where you're going to, not where you're coming from. So there are very few that it will be relevant where you're coming from. The one about the doctor was talking about preparing before you go abroad, some of that might be relevant based on the type of healthcare system you're coming from, right? So, go to your doctor, maybe really like go to the NHS, right? You know what I mean? Like it might be just those kind of differences. My talk about visas, yes, the amount of time you get in a country depends on which passport you have, but the UK and the US have very similar passport power. So there's not a lot of difference there. And I'm actually gonna address some other passports as well. Most of our talks, like I said, are about the experience where you're going, not necessarily where you're coming from, because we do recognize that we have people coming from all around the globe. So we're talking about that.
Yes. And you're welcome, friends. You're welcome, Canadians. And listen, Oh, no, never mind. Yeah, you're welcome. Come on over.
All right. So tell us, Zolani, what do you think what is keeping the UK ladies in the cold instead of
literally in the cold? Literally. A few things, actually. I think this relationship that the UK has with the US, the UK being the US is like seen as like the US's little sister in a lot of ways. And I've heard a lot, well, it's not as bad as it is in the US, you know, being from the UK.
So people in the UK saying they don't need to go anywhere because it's not as bad as it is in the US?
Well, when we see things on the news, right? So we see things on the news and we see violence and we see crime and we see Trump and we see this, all of these kind of things going on. And it's like, whoa, okay, the US is really bad. Oh, we're lucky that we don't have that here. And that's the kind of mentality. And it's you know, I think this is a community where it's fine for me to say this. It's that kind of house slave mentality, you know, that kind of, well, we ain't got it as bad as them, so I think we're all right. We're not enslaved at all. We're doing all right. Please don't have guns here. We're doing all right. Despite the fact that children are being killed all the time, there's violence, there's crimes.
Y'all find some real interesting ways to kill people. Like archery? Like what? I just somebody getting stabbed every other day. What y'all got?
Lots of stabbings. Yeah. Lots of stabbings.
Yeah. Seriously, it's a huge thing. And so I think comparatively, where things are so overt in the US, it can seem like actually in the UK we're okay. But when you look at the lived experiences of Black people in the UK, we are struggling, we are suffering, and we are not thriving there. One or two may get through and they're doing well, but actually we're not thriving there. And so that's a problem, right? For Black Brits is seeing ourselves as kind of the US's little sister, for sure. And I think that it's you guys have a very big country as well. So the US is a huge country and you're used to kind of traveling interstate and doing, the UK is like this and we don't really travel very much. And so it's not really in our blood so much to travel. I think it's getting better now. People are starting to see the benefits of going abroad. Certainly when I started traveling, I was like the weirdo, like I said, like, you're going to go where? Yeah. Where? Brunei, Darussalam, where's that?
Even even within Europe?
Yeah.
Or
no. Within Europe, that's different. That's different. It's what's seen as okay is that 2-week holiday that you get from work. You can go wherever on that 2-week holiday. But if you want to like travel, no, we don't really we don't do that. But I think people are kind of cottoning on more now that actually we are oppressed in the UK. We are suffering in the UK. Our children are dying. Our children really are dying in the UK. And we are better off outside of the UK environment. We do so much better. My daughter is thriving in Mexico right now. She's thriving. She's living her best life. You know, she's well on the way to being bilingual. She has friends from all over the world. She gets to do wonderful, amazing things that, you know, for a 4-year-old to have in her sights that, I want to go to Thailand. Yeah. That's where's next. Like, she's that kid. So that I think those are some of the barriers. So that was a long explanation there, but yeah.
That's really helpful because we hear people all the time. I hear from people from the UK who are like, well, is this applicable? But I never really hear their why. I don't really hear their why a lot. And so that was helpful.
Yeah. It really is a problem. And I really wish that more people from the UK were able to move away from the UK and give up what they think they have there, you know, to let that go and to release the nonsense. I was going to swear then, I won't. To release the nonsense.
You're doing your part, right? You don't know what you do ripples, right? You don't know how much of an impact it can have, right? So you keep talking, you keep sharing your life, keep sharing how you are flourishing, how you are free, how your daughter is thriving, and that will ripple out, and more and more people will see this as commonplace. More and more people will see this as normal. More and more people will see it as possible. We keep talking, keep talking.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, if you are from the UK and you're watching this, I would definitely recommend you get your tickets to the Exodus Summit and attend, because there is information there for you. We've just heard from the organizers that actually it is for us too. Yes. We don't need to consistently adjust and all right, okay, that's how it is for the US, but let me just change it for so it fits my life. But actually it's relevant for us too.
We're gonna have a talk about the rise in fascism in the US, but how's it doing over there, right? How about y'all in the UK? Y'all got a little something going on? Wow. I was in Dublin earlier this year. I was talking to a friend who lives there, and I was saying, it feels so nice to be here. And she was like, it's getting very terrible. And I was like, really? Because just the difference in the feel that I had when I walk around compared to being in the US is significantly different. But in her estimation, things are going so much further right. And they're getting so much worse for her as a Black Irish person that it's it's harder for her to survive. And I feel like in so many countries, it's the same story. It's getting it's not getting easier to be Black. It's getting harder to be Black, especially if they don't think you could possibly be from there. Like her being Black, born in Ireland to, at least one Irish parent. People are still like, you're not from here. And you know what I mean? That's that, or you're not Irish. Okay, well, what is she, right? That's not getting easier, even though you would think Black people have been traveling since travel was created, right?
Right.
Some people had feet. Black people have been traveling, and the idea that it's not in 2024, we're still seeing. It feels like we're reverting back to the 80s. What's happening? What's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I love traveling and seeing other Black people. I don't travel to see Black people. Just to be clear, I travel to see the world. But I always find so much joy when I travel the world and I see another Black person. It's like, you got here too? You got here too? How did you make it here? Because when I travel, I don't really like to go to real touristy spots for the most part. And I've met some wonderful Black people in the most random of places, like in the jungle in Peru. Met a Black woman.
That's how I met my Black Irish friend. I met her in that one V country that I don't talk about.
Right.
Met her, I think, in Hanoi or something, randomly.
You're welcome. Vietnam says you're welcome.
I'm here, you're here, let's be friends. Hello.
Yeah, I would like to go to Vietnam. I think, Roshida, I hope that you find your peace with Vietnam.
I hope we'll see y'all there. Yeah, it's not far. It's easy to get back and forth from Thailand. If y'all are going to spend some time in Thailand next year, come on over. We'll be in Vietnam late February.
And it's come on over to Exodus Summit online.
Yes.
October
11th, 14th has linked. Yes.
Yep. I have dropped my link in the chat. I will drop it again. But yes, you get your tickets. Sorry, carry on.
If you used Zolani's link, she gets a little bit of change raining down on her. Yes. I will not throw coins at her, but she will get money. And you guys don't pay anything extra. It's our way of thanking Zolani for creating community and encouraging people to come to the summit and all that other good stuff.
That's right.
So there's a few things that I really love in life. Right. One of them is being fed.
Good.
I bet your daughter likes that too. I think I know a little something about her. She Mhm.
She likes to be fed.
She likes to be fed.
And she's bougie with it too. I'm not even going to lie. She's bougie with it.
I know.
I'm not
Mhm.
eating that, mommy. I don't want that.
I want that other thing.
Really, really, yeah. But she's a sweetheart. Anyway, so I like to be fed.
Mhm.
And if you see me, I mean, feel free to offer me food. The other thing that I really, really love in life is to be paid. So, so and I think that's absolutely fine for you guys to do. So yes, so do click on the link and book yourself your Exodus Summit tickets.
Mhm.
Go. It's a fantastic event. It will change your life. I think I heard you say, Roshida, previously that, be prepared to change your life.
Mhm.
You're going to go to the summit thinking, I'm just going to have a little look and see. And before you know it, you're on a plane to Mongolia or somewhere,
Somewhere. You're in the jungles of Peru meeting Zolani. Like, hello.
Exactly.
Here now.
Exactly. Absolutely.
No, it's very much a change your life experience, but it's also very much a meet the people who are going to be in your life for the next few years or longer, right? Like I keep trying to get rid of Stephanie, but she won't let me go.
Not gonna happen.
So and there's always, you see all the people in the chat, they have met each other and they will not let each other go. That's just what happens in this community, right? I don't know if there's a country in this world I could go to right now where I couldn't throw up a signal and say, like, are there any Exodus Summit women here? And I wouldn't meet somebody. We're everywhere. And that's
everywhere.
Good. That's a really good thing because it allows people to always be able to find a friend.
Yeah, absolutely. The Exodus Summit is everywhere. And, there's all, like I said, I like to go abroad and see Black people. Black people are everywhere. We're told that we're a minority. The term ethnic minority, we are not. We are the global majority. And we are everywhere in various shapes, shades, and forms. We are everywhere. And go find your people. Travel the world, find your tribe, because they're there. So this is the year 5 of the summit.
Yes.
And what do you hope to leave as a legacy from the summit? When all of this is done, what do you hope the legacy of the summit is?
I hope that at some point in the future, people will be shocked that there was a time when Black women sacrificed themselves for others. And people will be shocked that Black women were viewed to some as the workhorses of society, right? And shocked that Black women were expected to martyr themselves for their families, for democracy, for anything in between. I hope that what Exodus Summit, a movement that Exodus Summit can contribute to, is the movement of Black women living lives, their own lives, for their own selves, and not for any other shoulds or demands that get placed on us.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. For me, I think that the first time a woman who did not, in our first summit, we had someone start on a Monday, someone quit her job on Tuesday. A woman who had never been abroad by herself before, moved abroad within, I want to say 2 months, and lived abroad for 4 years and is still abroad. That like every time I hear a story like that, like that's my legacy. Each individual woman doing something like that, that's my legacy. I don't need to wait. It's already in play. I can see people and be like, I hope you have a guest room because I'm the reason you're there. No, I'm like, but truthfully, like I know because I listen to your stories and I know what's going on. And every time someone says that, I'm like, this is what I do on this planet, right? This is what I do. And even if no one ever attributes it to us, like on a grander scale, like we know, the women tell us, like, I was able to do this. I learned about this, and so I did that. Every time someone says, I'm now house sitting, right? Because Stephanie, like that's That's what I'm talking about. Like every single time one woman says, I did this thing. That's my legacy. It's because we know that Black women being free is a multiplier. Black women getting paid is a multiplier. Black women being free is a multiplier. We will teach other people how to do it. We will share it with other people like nobody else on this planet, right?
Mhm.
If you want your family to be free, free a Black woman in your family,
Yes.
right? Whether we want to do the work to help everybody else or not, we don't do it, right? Like we're not going to hide how we did it. We're not going to tell other people I did it, but you can't. We're going to show you the way. And so every single time a Black woman gets a piece of freedom for herself, I feel like that's my legacy.
Yeah. How wonderful. How beautiful. And you know, I think, Stephanie, you mentioned the ripple effect of things a bit earlier in today's talk, and the ripple effect of the summit is massive. It's massive because if you think about what happens in, you know, 2 or 3 generations time, one Black woman traveled and then her kids get to live somewhere else, and then that child's experience is something else, and then what happens on and on and on and on and on. It's just it's huge. It's huge. It really, really is huge, and such a beautiful thing to jump on board on, you know. And it's not just like a trending thing. It's not just, oh, let's do this because it's cool. No, do this because it's your freedom. Do this because this leads to you. This leads you to you, right? To the truth of who you are. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, get your tickets to the summit for sure. I wanted to mention one thing that I'm doing, which is my group coaching program, which is called, now it's got a name. It wasn't supposed to have this name, but I said it once and then I had to stick with that name. So it's the Move Abroad Mindset Mastery. It's yeah. And this is where where I support Black women. It's exclusively for Black women in preparing psychologically, emotionally to move abroad, right? It's doing all the inner work to get women prepared to move abroad. And my cohort at the moment, they're up to big things. They're up to big things. Like, I don't know if you guys have that, you know, as a coach and a therapist, there's a point where like my coachees or my clients kind of go off like popcorn. It's like when they get something, you know, and it's like they got it. And so yeah, my coachees are really doing big things now. But yes, I have my Move Abroad Mindset group coaching, which you can be a part of. There's currently a little bit of a discount for you off the back of this interview, which is available for 48 hours only. So I will drop that in the chat there. It's also a link in the comment for people watching in the future. All right, there's a link there. So you can join my group coaching program. Wonderful.
Yes. All right. So let's get your mindset together and let's get your plan together. Right?
Yeah.
You need both. You need both things, right? You need to renew your mind. You need your mindset. Right. And you need a plan. Okay.
You need a plan. You need the practical. Yeah, you need the practical, tangible thing. In my group coaching, I'm not talking to you about money. I'm not talking to you about where you're going to get your healthcare.
You're not organizing the tourist visa or the residency visa situation, right?
No. I stay in my lane. Mental health is I will get your mind right. Okay, I will get your mind right.
And that is the biggest gap for a lot of people.
That's right.
A lot of people.
Yes. Yeah. Because it's not been our priority. We've been in survival mode for so long, right? And when you're in survival mode, it's all about preservation of life and this kind of, I need to feel good and live good. And that's not part of the survivalist strategy. But what we're doing is we're actively stepping out of survivalist mode and we're going into this much more expansive and nurturing space for ourselves, where we now see the need to be thinking about our mental health, and thinking about, are we thriving? Are we feeling joy? Are we living the life that we want to live? Are we living our dreams? 3 or 4 generations ago, that wasn't on the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
But it really is now. So yes, get your tickets to the summit, absolutely, and also jump on the group coaching. The two go hand in hand. Yes. Bit like this, bit like this, bit like this. Awesome. All right, so we are nearly at time, ladies. We are nearly
Thank you for having us. This is amazing.
Yes, it's been really, really lovely to get to know you guys behind all of the success, behind all of these big things that you're doing, and really see that you're folks, you're people.
We're people. We're people.
You really are people.
We do a big event once a year, but we're still people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You really, really are. You really, really are. Okay. Thank you so much for gracing my channel, my little space on the internet with your presence. Please do go and get your tickets. Oh, yes. Like the video, please. I like to think of that as paying your dues.
That's right.
Okay. Pay your dues as you come on in, as you leave. Thank you very much. It doesn't cost you anything. But thank you very much for your time and for sharing yourselves in such an open and lovely way today. And thank you again for all that you're doing with this Exodus community. One last thing that you would like to share, if you would. Let's do this differently. All right? I'm going to ask you one final question for both of you. Mm-hmm. Be prepared, because I didn't think I was going to do this. Tell us one thing each, anything that we don't know about you.
Oh, I have one. I have a 12,000 person Facebook group for pharmacy technicians, because in my old life, I was a pharmacy technician, and I thought that I would maybe like to help people take the pharmacy technician exam and pass the exam and whatever. I have a nice big Facebook group of pharmacy techs. I have just somehow morphed into a community builder, right? From lone wolf, right? I have morphed into a community. It's my thing now. It's what I do. You don't have to stay in the place you're in, is what I'm saying. You don't have to stay that person. You don't have to stay the loner. You don't have to stay the person who ruminates over and over about your life and what you don't have and what you didn't do. You can reinvent yourself. I have reinvented myself, and that community is the proof, because this Exodus Summit, I did this with Roshida, the pharmacy tech community, I'm a community builder, right? Cool.
Look at that. Is that group still active?
It's still active. Going? I don't step in there too much. They take care of themselves. Right? I don't have time for all that.
My businesswoman head is like, why don't you sell it?
I have thought about, I tried to get an affiliate commission thing going, where I would send some people to a woman who helps pharmacy techs take tests and pass exams and stuff. But she wasn't in for it at the time. So it's just there. Every now and then I'd throw up a new t-shirt. I made a pharmacy tech t-shirt. Y'all want it? But they live, they are on their own, having fun together, talking to each other, helping each other pass their exams, right?
Okay. All right. I did not know that about you, Stephanie. Thank you. All right. And Roshida, what's one thing we do not know about Roshida Dowe?
The thing that randomly popped into my head is this one time when I was on the board of a National Black Law Students Association. And at this thank you, or like end of the year banquet, the president at the time, in thanking me, called me Karl Rove because of my, which doesn't mean anything to you. But he was George Bush's strategist and kind of like a terrible person.
Right,
but
okay.
Got stuff done.
I was wondering where that was going. Okay.
Yes. So when we were talking earlier about like getting things done, that briefly popped in my mind. And then when you said that, I was like, there's a funny time where someone gave me an incredibly terrible insult that might have actually been like somewhat true. Because it was very much like that thing we thought could not happen. You made that how did you come in here and make the thing happen that no one thought could happen through like pulling strings and doing things behind the scene?
Look at that.
And I was like, I am insulted and complimented at the same time.
So I think it seems like it's inherent in both of you to be changers. You're agents of change and people that bring about shifts.
I've never thought about it like that before, but yeah.
I grace you with a new title. There you go.
We'll wear it.
Absolutely.
We'll wear it.
Yes, absolutely. And just for the fun of the game, I will share something about myself that I haven't shared before. Completely irrelevant, but I have. So I used to be 6 foot tall. I'm no longer because I had a car accident and I shrunk. It happens. I fractured my hip, which meant that when I realigned my body to compensate for the injury, right, my spine curved a different way, and then now I think it's about 1/2 inch shorter than I used to be. But that's not the interesting thing. Anyway, so being so tall means that is interesting, right? Being so tall means that I need to have a firm foundation to stand on. Mm-hmm. So I have like really, really large feet. I have super size. I think for a woman, I don't know American sizes, but I'm size 10 UK. So I think that's like a 12 in the US or 12 and a half.
You're looking it up, Stephanie?
Yeah. So I've got big feet, which means you're not knocking me over. Is what I take that to mean for myself. That means that I stand on firm footing and I ain't getting knocked over. All right.
UK 10 is 12. That's the 12. That's right. A 44.5 in Euro size is a 12 USA. That's right.
Okay.
Absolutely. Lani will not tip over.
That's right. In Mexico?
Is it? In the year,
trauma for you real quick, sorry.
In the year, right, because next month marks the year that we've been in Mexico. Mm-hmm. In the year that we've been here, I have not bought a single item of clothing or footwear for myself on Mexican soil because they don't cater for people like me. I'm in the Yucatan, which is the place where they have the shortest Mexicans. Right, that like literally, I think I would say the average height is about 5 foot, 5'1", 5'2". So when you're like a clear foot above, the average kind of height of people here, things just don't fit, So if I bought a long sleeve top, it would kind of like it's not going to work. So no, I definitely can't find clothes, and I certainly cannot find shoes. If I question whether I could even find men's shoes here that would fit me. I don't know, probably not.
Men with large feet, I see men around 14 complaining online about not being able to find shoes.
Oh, there you go.
14. So I don't know. So you'd be a men's 10, men in the US.
You do that thing in America where you have different sizes for men and women. Why?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they hate women. I mean, everything in America boils down to we hate women and we hate anyone who's not white. Like and slavery, but like all wrapped in to get like everything, literally everything boils down to that.
Right.
When you come to Vietnam, we'll get stuff made. Okay. You come to Vietnam, we'll get some stuff made. The shoes, I've had shoes made in Vietnam. Shoes, pants that actually hit where they're supposed to hit, right? Tops that hit to the wrist, right? We'll get some stuff made in Vietnam. We'll do it.
See, absolutely. See, Stephanie, that's how I know that you are definitely tall, because the fact that you said those things, that they will hit where they're supposed to, only tall people will get that. Only tall people will know that experience of finding the most beautiful garment. And so in London, we used to have this thing, and we used to say it was called ankle munchers.
Yes.
Right? Where your trousers would be sitting like way above your ankle. And they're not supposed to be sitting there because you're just too tall. And
we call them high waters or floods. I mean, where's the flood, Stephanie? Where's the flood?
Rashida's just casually sipping on her juice there.
I'm buying like cropped pants and they're hitting my ankle. So, But no, okay, so it's one thing. I'm gonna say this last thing and then we need to get out of here. But I was said this week on someone else's channel that one of the great things about moving abroad is you get to determine, by picking a country, you get to determine how you are received in comparison to the rest of the people. Like, I'm very average height in Mexico City. I am not a short person, no matter what Zolani tells you, no matter what lies Zolani tells you. I am a very girl. Like, you imagine me in the Yucatan. I'm a very average height person.
You're a giant.
Listen, I am very, very, very average height in Mexico City. Right now, I can't go to the store and buy makeup because Mexicans like to pretend that their browner brethren don't exist. But that's, one of the three things we mentioned before, right? Like, it's all wrapped up.
Yes. Yes.
But if you want to not feel so tall, live amongst tall people. Not that like it's just that simple, but like if you get to choose where you go and you don't like how you're perceived physically, you can make adjustments, right? You can't change yourself, but you can change your surroundings, and that is actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't mind not being tall, but I do like being very average height. I'm looking down, and I'll be sure. I'm looking down at men like, yeah. Yes.
I love that for you, Roshida. I love that for you, Roshida.
Me, yes.
I love that for you. I don't have that experience. Well, I have that experience of looking down at men. Yes, no, but I very rarely have the experience of like looking up. It doesn't happen, but such is life. All right. Thank you so much, ladies, for, I said, gracing my channel, being present, opening yourselves up, sharing yourselves. It has been wonderful as usual. You are a pleasure to talk to, and get your tickets for the summit. Link is in the description box and in the chat. Show up, be present, get ready to change your life. Don't just come with your notebook, come with everything, because it's going to change your life. And just thank you, ladies. Really thank you. It's been wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for letting us hang out with your crew. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Squad.
Adios. Like the video. Thank you.
Yes.
Like
the video. Hit the subscribe button. All of the things.
All right. Adios.
Adios.